name is Jim Schultz. I'm with Eagles Wings Disc Golf. I compete as a pro in the Senior Grandmasters Division. Call it the Old Geezers Club, but some of the greatest friends I've ever met have been in that division. We have a great time competing, but also just hanging out with each other. But I'm here to talk a little bit about what it is to be a man of faith in the disc golf community, how to maybe bring in a verse or scripture that keeps my focus right, how to be a testimony to people, how to handle bad attitudes or bad habits of people I play with. And I guess to answer all that, I need to go back about 20 years to the beginning. A friend of mine named Jeff Swass introduced me to disc golf with my youth group. Right off the bat, I fell in love with the sport. And as we started, playing a lot for our local league, I started going to some local tournaments with the kids. And I did it more for them, but I found that I was winning. And I thought, man, the Lord's given me a gift to play. And so I started going to bigger and bigger tournaments. And eventually somebody told me, he said, Jim, you got to go to the Amateur Worlds in Appleton, Wisconsin in 1998. So you can maybe see how good you can do. And I thought, man, I'd like to do that. And kind of being a guy, it's kind of like something to conquer, to measure, where I'm at with people. And but at the same time, I started thinking, man, I don't want it to be all about me winning or pursuing winning. I want to make sure my focus stays on the Lord. And so God gave me a verse. It's Isaiah 40:31. And it goes, for those whose hope is in the Lord will renew their strength. They will mount up on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. And I thought, all right, how can I remind myself of that verse? And I thought, well, I'll put it on my disc. And so every disc in my bag, I wrote that passage out in longhand. So every time I grabbed the disc from my bag, it reminded me that I was playing for God and not for me. And the added bonus was that my competitors would see my disc on the ground. They go, what is on your disc? And it gave me an opportunity to share, hey, this is a verse that God has blessed me with, and it keeps my focus right. And it would open up all sorts of opportunities for just sharing a little bit about, what God means to me. Or maybe a guy says, oh, I've heard that verse before. And sometimes we can turn the conversation over to things of church and faith. And so anyway, getting back to the Amateur Worlds, back then it was 10 rounds of golf in 5 days. It was grueling. And I had 80 guys in my division. And I said, Lord, if I could finish in the top 4 and make the finals, that would just be awesome. And then I'll give you credit for, my victories or being the top 4. And after the first round, to my amazement, I was in first place. And whether the Lord just thought pride was creeping in or whether he just had a different plan, I found myself in the second round being in 35th place. And I thought, well, it's time to readjust my goals. And so I thought maybe my goal now should be just being a good friend to every person in my group, trying to get to know about their family and about their kids, where they work, and try to get to know them as people, not just competitors. And so through that, though, I noticed my place going from 35th to 25th to 15th to 10th. And to make a long story short, in the end, I ended up winning the Amateur World title in 1998 by 2 strokes. And then I remembered, I told the Lord, if I win, I'll give you credit. And even though as a youth pastor, I was kind of at a loss for words. I'm like, what do I say in front of 200 or 300 disc golfers, and most of them I've never seen before? And so God gave me some words. And so I get up on stage and I say, I don't have a sponsor, but I have a wife who is my biggest supporter. And I have a son who carried my bag all week. And I want to thank them. I want to thank the guys I got to play with, some of the best friends I've met in a long time. And I want to thank the tournament organizers. And I said, last but not least, I want to thank God, because I heard his name a lot on the course this week. And to my relief, they laughed. And I said, I want to thank him for the good shots, the bad shots. He's the reason I won. He's the reason I played. To him be the glory. And I just want to slip off the stage. And to my amazement, they applauded. And that moved my heart. And it helped me to see that this wasn't just about a sport. This was like a platform. This was a ministry. And so as I got back to Michigan, I told my youth group, we got to start volunteering and seeing how we can use this sport as a bridge into conversations of faith and service. And so we started helping with the local park, cutting branches, mowing grass, putting in tee pads. Then we started building courses. And one of the neat things is I worked with these kids and we build these courses. All of a sudden, we got to know each other better, and I got to build into them about servanthood and about giving and about teamwork. And over the years, these kids will even point back to some of the courses we did. They said that was one of the best things I ever did, was to help serve in our community. And so anyway, after doing that for several years, I got called to another church in California. An old friend of mine asked me to come be the youth and family pastor. And I thought, what can I do here? So I started building courses at local camps. Went overseas to Mexico, and we built 3 courses there and helping the missionaries. And we started thinking about how can we, really continue to grow this. So I actually contacted Athletes in Action and Fellowship Christian Athletes saying, hey, maybe my youth group can partner with you to do this ministry. And neither one of them seemed ready to do it. And I was a little discouraged. And then I get a call 2 years ago from a guy named Dustin Leatherman. And he said, you don't know me, but people have been telling me that you've been doing disc golf ministry for some time now, and we want to do a full-time ministry to disc golf community. Would you consider being a part of our team? Long story short, we knew that was God's leading. We started 2 years ago, and when we first started, we started thinking about how do we strategically do this ministry. I mean, we want to go and volunteer, but we want to, do chapel services. We want to do one-on-one stuff, and we want to kind of reach people where they're at. And a story that goes with that is that when I was in California, I didn't know anybody, and I went to the local course, and there was only one guy there at the time. And I just said, hey, I'm new here. Would you show me around? And he goes, man, I'd love to. Let's go. And so we started playing, and he saw that I knew how to play, and I saw, we had kind of a good mutual admiration for each other. And I started just asking him about his family, where he worked, and we started just having a great conversation. After about 4 holes, he goes, hey, would you like some pot? And I'm like, no, thanks. That's all right. And so he played a little bit more, and he started to loosen up a little bit more and shared a little bit more about his life. And he goes, man, really, I got plenty of pot. If you'd like some pot, I'd be happy to share with you. And I'm like, no, that's cool, man. No worries. And then finally, I never want to start off by going, hey, I'm a pastor. I just want to just talk to these guys. And so he finally asked me, what do you do for a living? I said, well, I'm a youth pastor. And man, he almost choked. He's going, oh my gosh, I just offered pot to a pastor twice. And I said, and God gave me these words that I'll never forget. And I said to him, I'm not here to be your judge, man. I'm just here to be your friend. Let's just play golf. And he goes, really? You're cool? I said, yeah. Well, he started introducing me to all his friends and telling them, hey, don't give him pot because he's a pastor. And so I started getting to know 1, 2, 5, 10. And over the course of 5 years, I've gotten to know like 60, 70 guys at our local park and gotten to know about their family life. Some are unemployed, some of them are disabled. And it was like, I felt like I had a chance to invest my love for people in them. And through it all, that group grew and grew. And I remember taking my church van to the park, and I was pulling around hole number 1. And all the guys are there waving, and there's like 20 of them at the tee pad. And one of them yelled, pastor in the house. And that struck me. It's like, pastor in the house. And I thought, the church isn't a building. Church is people. And this has become an extension of his church out in the disc golf community. And it made me even work harder at trying to develop relationships and look for ways to minister. So now Dustin Leatherman is telling me Eagles Wings wants to do a full-time ministry with Push the Rock. And so our goal is to use our faith, our love of God and people to be a blessing to the disc golf community, to work of people, to be a listening ear, a rallying point for Christians. And so, long story short, we can't do this alone. And so we covet your prayers. If you're interested in being a part of our ministry or seeing how you can volunteer or even just pray for us, contact us. We have a website, Eagles Wings Disc Golf. We have a Facebook page. But just glad to have a chance to share with you. And hopefully you can see your community as a place where it's the church, not just a course.